Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and Iron Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Roby, and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking a little bit more about internet capital markets.
I think we should, dude. I think it's
brewing.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel that I'm resonating with the thesis a bit. The more I see vibe code, you know, I see the
struggle.
I see
the struggle and the pain, but then the breakthrough.
Yeah, I see the magic happening before my eyes, right? And it's like, wow, you know, a couple years ago, these things weren't possible, right? And, you know, the non-developers out there, most of us, were generally screwed when it comes to, like,
implementing ideas.
Like, real contribution.
Yeah.
Like, actually harnessing the ability to create things of substance and that have actual impact. So typically those types of individuals, you can refer to them as the idea guys, maybe. You've got to partner up with, like, you know, the techie types, right?
Yeah.
You know,
the nerds,
the introverted, the non-communicative, borderline on the spectrum types, right? In order to produce something fruitful. But in the era of AI, that dynamic is shifting pretty dramatically. Right?
It is. It's pretty great. I've always explained my situation as having a symphony in my head without the ability to, like, write musical notes.
Must be torturous for you.
It is very torturous.
Imagine if Mozart didn't have his, what did he have, a fiddle?
Yeah.
One of those things? Is that what he was?
I guess.
Or was he the piano guy? He's one of those, right? Imagine he didn't have his instrument, dude. Must have been a torturous existence for him, right?
Right.
But fortunately, he had it, so his symphony had
a way to get out of his head.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so now everybody has these tools. I don't think everybody's aware of the fact that they can get their hands on these tools and, like, do useful things with them yet. But there is a small percentage of people who are paying attention and actually, like, putting that to use. But still, that's like half of the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just being able to have the ability to create and, like, you know, become technical. The other half is, like, how do I secure funding and, like, you know, monetize my efforts to produce something like a company, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's where, like, the on-chain rails come in, and the internet capital market thesis, I think, makes a lot of sense, right? Where you can combine these two and create, like, a super system in a sense.
And we're about to talk about a tweet here that might be opening up this Cambrian explosion of potential.
It should help, at least. And not just, it should help all of crypto, really.
Yeah.
I read this tweet, and I was like...
It's like, who? Did he get hacked?
Yeah. Is the government okay? You know? It's one of those tweets, right? I wasn't expecting this much bullishness to come from the SEC.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, so let's take a look at this tweet. SEC says, key points from Chairman Paul Atkins. Remarks today as DeFi and the American Spirit, SEC's Crypto Talk Force Roundtable on Decentralized Finance. So here we are with the SEC talking about DeFi, and it says the American value of economic liberty, private property rights, and innovation are in the DNA of DeFi, or decentralized finance. The prior administration discouraged Americans from participating in blockchains by asserting through lawsuits, speeches, regulation, and threatened regulatory actions that participants and staking as a service providers may be engaged in security transactions. I'm grateful to the Division of Corporation Finance staff for clarifying it is the view and voluntary participation in proof of work and proof of stake networks as a minor validator or staking as a service provider is not within the scope of federal security laws. So it goes on here to kind of describe a little bit more in detail, but
there is one of these tweets here that's, like, pretty important. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe it's this one. Many entrepreneurs are developing software apps that are designed to function without administration by any operator. These on-chain self-executing software systems have proven to be resilient. No, that wasn't it. Damn it. There's one of these tweets essentially implies that, like, you know, all experimentations are under the umbrella of, you know, absolved of any SEC scrutiny in a sense, right? Like, basically, you have free reign to experiment with these different on-chain financial models.
Yeah.
You know, so don't worry about it, bros. Just go for it. Right.
Yeah, I have directed the staff to consider a conditional exemptive relief framework or innovation exemption that would expeditiously allow registrants and non-registrants to bring on chain products and services to the market.
Yeah, that was it. I read that and I was like, oh, right. Bet.
Floodgates.
It's like, just bet
Yeah.
SEC, you know, Ponzi's are coming.
Yeah.
That's what that signals to me. It's like, you know, if you have an idea as far as like some
Flywheel mechanic.
yeah, some economic flywheel, some sort of profit redistribution models.
Yeah.
Typically, you want to stray away from that in the past because, you know, if you understood the
Howey test, yeah.
and its interpretations, like, you know, once you start to devise mechanics where you're like, you know, redistributing, you know, revenues of a thing to holders of a token or something, like, you're in some dangerous waters.
Yeah, you're gonna get an SEC notice.
Most likely, especially if you sold those tokens.
and especially if it was like, you know, more than like $20-30 million or more.
Typically there's a threshold where you get on their radar, right? But still, like, that prevented a lot of experimentation, you would say, but you know, people typically wanted to do like create these economic flywheels that do, you know, incentivize persistent contribution. I think this can kind of like re-inject some new dynamics into like play to earn games and such that might make those types of experiences, you know, more long term.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
in context of the internet capital markets, you know, I think this can open the floodgates in a sense, right? And Ben Pasternak here, he is tweeting his reaction, you know.
Yeah, so they quote tweet this and it says, "We're excited to see how Believe can evolve in step with the changing regulatory landscape in the U.S." So it's basically, it's bet.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we're going to experiment now.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted that tweet too, and I think that is the proper response if you're doing something like what Believe is trying to do, right? Where, you know, enabling the bootstrapping of developer attempts, right? You know, like we said, devs, the learned devs and now the vibe coding devs, like, you know, they have the ability and the potential to create value, but the bootstrap economy, it's a difficult one, right? Typically, you gotta like live in the nexus of Silicon Valley to get access to VCs and such, but not everybody wants to move there, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It's expensive, and there's a lot of
homeless people.
Yeah, there is
a lot of fecal matter on those streets, in certain streets, right? But I hear, you know, where Sam Altman is and stuff, it's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I saw that video. It's pretty clean.
He's walking down the street, hands in pocket, dude. Not a worry in the world, dude. I didn't see a homeless person in sight. Just rolling beautiful hills.
Yep.
And billionaires just roaming the streets, dude.
Yeah.
This looks fucking great. Right? But not all of us have that access to that luxurious opportunity, right? So the rest of us who want to build things, we want to partake in these markets, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Believe does.
Yeah. So Believe, there's a website, I guess, by the community members, Believe Screener. Yeah. Talks about the volume, coin launches, 34,000 coin launches.
Yeah, last time I looked at this, it was around 10,000. So something happened. Either the data was wrong or a massive recent influx of launches. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so total market cap of these coins, 357 million. 24-hour volume, almost 100 million.
These are impressive numbers still. And you would consider this like it's a down trough period because they had, of course, its initial hype a few weeks ago where like throughout that week, volume was probably 10x what it is today. But it's important to kind of like, you know, if you want to do your due diligence, it's like anything else, right? It's not like doing meme coin fundamental analysis. Yeah. A little different than doing ICM fundamental analysis.
Yeah, it's different. Right? Yeah, there's an actual product trying to be developed here.
Yeah, so we went through some of these just to kind of like, you know, get the juices flowing of like ICM due diligence processes.
Yeah.
Starting off with Launchcoin, of course. I mean, this is the behemoth of the ecosystem. It is the coin, right? That kind of like represents, think of it as like the index of the entire ecosystem, right?
Yeah, and this index is doing quite well.
Yeah, and so the information is kind of shaky here. You know, apparently we don't know for sure. There's a 2% like trading fee for this token itself that gets directed to the team, right? So
yeah.
But there's people on here saying that it's not the case. Others are saying it is the case. So whether or not it's the case or not, kind of like really contributes to the like trajectory outlook of this entire ecosystem.
Yeah, here's an example. Launchcoin generated roughly 700,000 in fees in the last 24 hours. That's an annualized $255 million.
That's just revenue. Launchcoin, not the Believe ecosystem with all the devs, just Launchcoin.
Yeah.
If those fees are true, that means the team themselves, because they're the recipients of those fees,
right?
that is like runway capital for them to,
Keep going.
hire bigger teams, yada, 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 right?
Yeah. All right. So there's a dashboard here for Launchcoin. If you wanted to do your due diligence, as you should.
But I think what's really important is the creator ecosystem, right?
Yeah, it's the creator ecosystem.
That's here in the dashboard itself. Just take a look at that, because that's the more meaningful representation as far as like what the devs are producing, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about, is this what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Believe real revenue, Believe ecosystem revenue. Oh, I see. Yeah, $400,000 on the day, or over 400,000.
Quite the drop off here, though. You see?
Yeah, I think it's just because it's still.
Oh, I see.
It's early in the 24-hour period.
Still calculating?
Yeah, still working. It's early in its day period.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. So Ben, founder of Belive, he says, new anti-sniper mechanism now live. Like everything we ship, they'll need some iteration to get it right. It says, one thing you might not know, Belive is currently built by a team of just 4. Since launch, we've been shipping fast, pulling countless all-nighters to reach the foundation we have today. Along the way, a lot has broken. This week, we were heads down fixing bugs. And we got a couple of things on horizon, tightening every screw. Creator interest has been overwhelming. And as already shared, we're working on a structure of mechanisms for Launchcoin.
Okay, so this kind of gives you like the current status of things, which is...
So are we talking about Mario Kart here, dude?
Finally some substance to this image, right? I remember this was posted like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
It's a flywheel.
Okay, good. I struggled with that for a minute. Actually, I was like, what the fuck is he? What is that?
It's like Mario Kart.
Yeah, I know. But like, why he just posted that with no context? I guess, people have been dying to hear, right? More flywheel considerations, right? Because that is the buzzword of this cycle. People, that if you could really figure that out and master engineer some sort of economic design that fulfills expectations of everybody.
Yeah.
That's a big green light, right? It's a signal for the market to really, believe in this project.
Yeah.
And I guess some of the considerations to have if you're Ben Pasternak is like, yeah, this Launchcoin is generating a ton of revenue, a ton of fees. Should I start redirecting some of that to other pillars of our ecosystem, or should I just pull a pumped out fund, extract all those funds for ourselves, build out a better
product,
internal operation as a result?
Yeah.
What do you think? How would you strategize around that?
Well, there's different strategies that are in execution at the moment. We got Hyperliquid buying up their own token.
That's true.
Right? That's one strategy.
Yeah, the buyback approach.
And then there's, this other seemingly approach is get a bigger team, build a better product, expand to different horizons, I guess.
Yeah. What else? I don't know. I guess that's kind of...
Buy your creators' tokens as well.
Yeah, or redistribute some of the Launchcoin revenues, I guess, to...
Yeah, isn't that what Virtuals did? They bought their ecosystem tokens?
Yeah, they used their revenue, like $50 million, and they just essentially bought some of the coins on their ecosystem. I don't know if that really did too much.
No, it didn't. It didn't do anything.
Yeah, I really didn't. Yeah, I don't think it did, because they completely shifted their entire model since then, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow's video.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Kled. This is the leading data marketplace. This is powering innovation by bridging AI developers with rights holders, unlocking access to the highest quality, ethically sourced data for responsible training. Yeah, ethically sourced data. I've never heard that term until now, dude.
How do you... So that implies some subjectivity, right?
Yeah, there isn't a sweatshop back there creating data. That's what it means, right?
I guess. I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, where's
I guess the data is like open IP content, not private IP content.
Well, and it's also, I think, like user contributed, right? It's not just like taken.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't just take what's out there. It's like people are submitting it and they're being incentivized and rewarded for doing that.
Yeah. Someone is suing Midjourney right now.
Hoo-wee.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not many people suing Midjourney.
Yeah, it's a big name. I just can't remember it now, but
probably like a conglomerate, like a class action or something. But yeah, this is Belive's #1 ecosystem project at the moment. I think it's like hovering around 20 million market cap. So we did need to do some due diligence here. And yeah, just immediately after hearing about it, it kind of sounded similar to like a Web 2 counterpart, Scale AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember hearing about this company because the CEO is like fucking 19 or something. He's like some kid, right?
Yeah.
He's just crushing it. He's already a billionaire.
Yeah.
So clearly this is a very important primitive in the context of AI and training models, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, data is the oil in AI. So
yeah, so you got again another, I guess, young and ambitious team leveraging the on-chain rails to bootstrap their attempt at essentially claiming some kind of market share of what it is Scale AI is already achieving.
yeah. So talk about market penetration. A frustrated Zuckerberg makes his biggest AI bet as Meta nears $14 billion stake in Scale AI and hires founder Wang.
That's that kid
That
billionaire I'm
19-year-old.
talking about. I don't think he's actually 19, but he's
Yeah,
very
but
young.
he's a kid.
Yeah. So that just gives you, again, a market. There he is.
Yeah.
A Web 2 counterpart, like similar business model, but Web 2 approach. Kled is taking the Web 3 approach, leveraging a token to incentivize people contributing these data streams for training and such.
Yeah, but it's all not rosy picture here. It says, did you know Kled team has dumped a whopping 800,000
A whopping, dude.
worth of Kled tokens over the last 10 days. Strange, right? Why would someone dump 800K worth of the tokens without telling anybody and while loudly promoting buybacks on Twitter? So yeah, there's a little bit of FUD.
Yeah, I mean, it's
If you're going to buy back your token, I feel like you have the rights to do whatever you want with said token. I feel like it.
Yeah, such as selling it, right?
Right.
Yeah, but it's just this demonstrates a lot of things, right? Like the dynamics that are different from Web 2 compared to Web 3. A lot of these developers don't know what they're dealing with. It's in the Web 3 developer / founder lifestyle.
It's very public from a financial perspective.
And in a lot of cases, almost like, almost every move you make can be interpreted like negatively by somebody.
Yeah.
And then you've always got to you're like in a persistent, constant PR
nightmare every day
situation where you have to justify every fucking move you take.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of these guys are going to find that out the hard way because per the nature of Web3 and on-chain markets, everything's transparent and open and public.
Yeah.
Right. So do with this information what you will. I don't see a problem here. I don't know if you do.
Nope, I
It's
don't.
like teams need, guess what? These aren't meme coins. Teams need capital to build.
Keep the lights on, pay the developers.
Yeah. So this shifting market dynamics from the token participant perspective too. It's like they're not meme coins, guys. So expect different founder relations with their token.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 8.6% of Kled supply has already been taken out of circulation. We've designed Kled to be deflationary currency where every aspect of our business gives back to real value to token holders. All accumulated Kled will be locked up. So yeah, so there is conflicting statements here.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you have a bill to pay, you got to pay the bill.
I have a feeling this came out like after the backlash. It's probably like, okay, we hear you, community. You're upset that we're, liquidating. So here's our flywheel design to no longer do that, right? And to create a stronger flywheel incentive model over time. Right?
Yeah.
Again, this is per the nature of Web3, and you've got to, everybody who's launching in this ecosystem has to understand, which is why they've developed like their own playbook, right, of how to handle the market, essentially.
Yeah, we were talking about this offline, and yeah, part of internet capital markets is the creator earns based off volume.
Yeah,
and so I was saying, like in an absolute environment, what you want to optimize is drama. Because you want people to be actively buying and selling against that drama so that you generate some revenue. So
it's true.
So we will see a ton of choppy waters, I think, in these markets.
Yeah, so you're saying it's better, to have these like public outcry situations and to be very responsive to them.
Yeah.
So that the market is watching this in real time and they're reacting. That's what these squiggly lines, these bars represent. It's the market reacting to the FUD happening in real time. I'm sure a lot of that.
Here's the
FUD.
FUD.
There's the FUD. It's like, oh shit, dude, it's a slow rug.
Yeah.
Out. And then here comes the founder.
Here's the
He's
tweet.
like, it's not a slow rug.
It's a lockup period.
It's actually a lockup. You know, aren't you guys confident again? But like you're saying, all this means volume go up.
Yeah.
And remember, there's a fee there that gets distributed to the team itself. So that's good for them at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. Finally, Collateralize. It says Launchpad is live. Real world assets are now liquid and globally accessible in DeFi rails. Internet capital markets are now live. All right. So let's take a look at what this is. And it says buy an RWA you like, select from our curated collection, sell your RWA anytime using our bonding curves. It says collateral is acquired. It says once bonded, your real world asset collateral is fully acquired by Collateralize. All right, so let's take a
fully acquired.
Yeah, I don't know what that means exactly.
So are they like a holding company in a sense? It's like here's these assets, and look at that.
See, we got a commercial unit with a market cap of 34K. We got a diamond.
This is interesting because these images are definitely changing. I looked at this earlier. That is not for one, that's not a commercial unit, right? That image. Oh, Jesus, what is that?
Oh, boy, that's quite the candle.
What's the current market cap?
34,000, and it was...
Wow. Much higher than that at some point. What are these, daily candles, minute?
It's hard to see.
Okay, well,
I
on
think
the bottom left, you can change it.
No, these are hourly.
Hourly. Okay, so this is brand new, fresh stuff, right? 4 hours old. I don't know exactly what happened there, sniping or what. Scroll down. I think you can look at the volume somewhere.
All right, let me get out of here. Scroll down. Total supply a billion. Real world value 243,000.
So this is weird, completely weird, right? Like here's the volume. I mean, we're talking hundreds of dollars, right? On the left.
Total volume $830.
Yeah, so it's a platform claiming to be a part of the internet capital market like space, using that, right, for their marketing and such, bringing real world assets, but like you were saying offline, perhaps not like the most sensible application of bonding curves, right?
No, yeah, it doesn't make sense to put like a diamond on a bonding curve. Like a diamond already has its value, right? I mean, it's, you know, the quality of the diamond does affect its value, but it's a diamond nonetheless. So it has a range of value.
And they're even like showing you the real world value of the thing, right? With that commercial unit, it said it was $230K. So
yeah, so this one is $2,600
for what?
For this diamond.
Jeez. Yeah, so that's tough. That's tough.
So I don't know what you're speculating on here. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, from our perspective, what bonding curves enable is like viability testing of things that's hard to determine actual value for, like
exactly.
a meme.
Like a meme, a PFP project.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much anything that we've seen
art,
in crypto.
Music.
Yeah.
You know, these are things where the value interpretation's up in the air, right? There's no established market spot price of the thing, but bringing real world assets into these.
Yeah, they have inherent value. A table has an inherent value.
Yeah, so maybe there's a different sector category in the RWA space that makes more sense, right? Maybe like a collectible, for example, sports memorabilia.
Sure.
That's a little bit more up in the air as far
subjective and yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more fungible in terms of how people value this thing.
Yeah, but nonetheless, we should keep track of it anyways, just because it's part of the ecosystem, it's part of the space of like what's happening in these ICM trenches, what's happening on Solana, yada, 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 right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for us, guys. Yeah, I just want to make sure that if you guys find anything in the ICM space that we haven't talked about yet that you think is worthy of us talking about, put it in the comment section below. Make sure you follow our Twitter accounts. And yeah, appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.